think many people on all sides of the racism coin have dealt with the trauma of racism. Joining me on the stage is another doctor. We're like loaded up with PhD. I have 3 doctors in a row. My third doctor in a row is Dr. Kathy Obear, but I'm not a racist. Tools for well-meaning whites. Got a couple well-meaning whites on the stage right now. So let's talk about But I'm Not a Racist. Who is this book for? Why did you write it?
This is a book I wish I had decades ago, because I was and still am that well-meaning white who spent all my time dancing, trying to get people of color particularly to think I was a good white and wanted to be their friend, and didn't realize how often my comments, my behaviors, and my inactions and my silence just replicated racist dynamics. I had no idea that people could see the racist beliefs and attitudes I had in the subtle and not so subtle ways I showed up. And so I wanted to write this book because I believe we need hundreds of thousands, millions of whites stepping up now, especially with the transition tomorrow, to partner with people of color to create true racial justice in this country and around the world. And the way I used to engage whites, the way that people used to engage me, I actually would shut down. People would say, "You're racist." I'm like, "I'm not racist," had to defend myself. And I think in this book, there are so many more ways that out of compassion, connection, love, holding people accountable, we can connect with other whites in ways that they want to show up, they want to be better, they want to recognize their racist attitudes and behaviors, change them, and be a part of creating true justice for all.
So I think when somebody says, some of my best friends are black, right? I think I don't think they're trying to be an asshole, right? I think they really are like, no, for real. My next door neighbor is black. She's a very nice girl. I remember hearing a conversation when I was a kid. There were 2 adults talking, and they were like friends of my parents. And they're like, she's black, but she's a very good doctor. And I don't think when you say something like that, you think that you're being racist. You're like, no, I'm acknowledging, despite the color of her skin, she's like a great friend. What a miracle. So how do you talk to somebody who's like, no, for sure, I'm not a racist. I even like some of them. How do you bring them into the conversation without saying like, look, that's actually, because I got people in my family. I don't know if you got people in your family where they'll say something like that at the dinner table. And I'm like, oh my God, do you have any idea how racist that is? Which doesn't tend to lead to change, although I continue to try that approach.
Well, I so relate. I've said so many similar things, and it took me years to realize I was saying, oh no, they're the exception. They're a good person. And I didn't realize how much I believed those racist white supremacist beliefs that whites are better, superior than people of color. And if I were just to say that to someone, they might back away. But
they do not tend to lean into that.
No, but if I tell a story about how I've said something similar, and then somebody with compassion and love said, and you probably didn't mean it, but here's the impact you just had, because I trust you didn't mean to have it because you care about your friend. And let's sit down and have coffee because I'd love to talk to you about some of my life experiences, ask you about yours. And I believe those one-on-one conversations with other whites or whites coming together in community and white caucuses or affinity groups, when we get honest and we really tell stories, we can help each other see the racist behaviors we still have, the attitudes we still don't know we have or we're trying to fake, as I did for decades, and can help each other find new ways with courage to step up, speak up, intervene when those racist microaggressions happen, and interrupt when we ourselves are saying or doing something in the moment, make amends when they happen, and then build relationships with other whites so that we have a community to keep learning and healing.
One of the things I think is so powerful and so different about this book is that it's really about whites helping other whites with racism. Here's a thing that I learned, and I actually learned, we did a book a couple months ago about the grief process. It's called Life from the Ashes by Sherry O'Loughlin. And one of the things Sherry taught me in that book is that the bereaved are often turned into educators. So you're in this low point in your life, and now you have to educate people on how to deal with someone about grief. One of the things I learned from your book is how much, and I've patted myself on the back for it, but how much pressure I've put on my African American friends to educate me about what's not racist. Like, it seems like they should know. And so let me just ask them, like, this thing happened. What's a non-racist response to this? And I have put so many expectations on my African American friends And expecting them to send flowers when I asked them to help me.
Because I did something good, right?
Right.
What I know is whether it's African American, Latino, multiracial, biracial, Asian American, Native American, Arab, Middle East, I have wanted them to teach me, but I've also wanted them to forgive me. I think that's underneath that. I don't know if you can relate. It's like I did this, what should I do differently? And I want them to say, oh, it's all right, you're a good person. And to be honest, many have. And I wish they would just not do that. And I wish they would say to me, I don't ask anymore, I don't think, but to be able to say, you know what, here's a book, or go talk to other whites.
I had somebody do that to me recently, right before I read your book. And it's a woman named Denise Attaway. And I asked her, which I thought I was going to get a thanks for asking. And she's like, it's totally not my job to answer that question. And I was like horrified, like wanted to die, take to my bed. Like, I'm like, I think she just called me a racist.
Here's what I didn't realize. By telling them what I did and what should I've done differently, I'm replicating. And that's like the 10th or 15th time probably that day that a racist dynamic has happened to them. I think I'm being a good white, and I don't realize how I'm just replicating. And then they're carrying this cumulative impact. Whereas if we whites would just seek out other whites, build relationships with other whites so that we have a caring community. I do this with my partner, my wife. Is I come home and I said, you will not believe what I did today. I'm so embarrassed. And she's like, oh, I did too. And we can just say it and let it go and change and be different. I want to be very clear. Talking with other whites about this isn't just to say, okay, that's enough. We have to change our behaviors and then go out and tell our story so other whites can relate and see ourselves in each other and find the courage and the faith to show up differently and be a part of racial justice.
Yeah. And to me, just getting that message. And then something I learned from you in your book was being able to acknowledge that that was a gift that she said that. Like how amazing that she would trust me to say that, because most African Americans or people of color would feel like, oh, they have to answer. Like, now I'm asking you to work and you go to work for me. Do my work for me. Thanks. Make it easier.
Well, what we whites do is we'll punish people of color if they don't take care of us, if they don't make us feel better, if they don't educate us. And I think if we can get hundreds of thousands more whites doing our work with each other, we won't then put all this more racist dynamic on folks of color, because they're dealing with the current dynamics and the ones that have been starting for a while, these last couple months. And I have no idea what's going to, actually I do. It's going to take all of us working together to create true justice and interrupt and speak out and say, not in our town, not in our country.
Well, I was blown away by this book. Honestly, things I had never thought about, never considered. And I consider myself a good white. I thought I'd done all the reading. I've done all the colonial reading. There is so much more. I've touched on just a couple of the pearls of wisdom in this book. Get yourself a copy of But I'm Not a Racist by Kathy Obear. Powerful discussion we all need to be having, especially now. Thank you for sharing this book and for stepping up.
And thank you. I was planning to write a different book. And
maybe pressured her into it.
No, and it's because of you I wrote this book at this time. It was what I needed in this moment in time, and I believe it's what many under 100,000s, and it's because you, with courage and compassion, said, I think you need to write this book now.